Hi friends, hello, welcome to Books and Crafts. My name is Martyna and today I am really excited to talk to you about all of the books that I read in July. So in July I finished 7 books and I had 2 soft DNFs, which is books that I did not finish, but I am planning to. I do want to go back to them and give them another chance. I just wasn't in a mood for them, and being a mood reader, I just could not push through. And so I will have all of the books and also all of the chapters for this video in the description box for you to check out if you are interested. So the first 2 books that I started my month with and that I would like to talk about are The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. These are books 1 and 2 in her Poppy War series. This was one of the series that I thought for the longest time I would give 5 stars, but for some reason I just wasn't picking it up. Maybe I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't live up to the hype. However, I am so happy to say that it definitely lived up to all of the hype, and all of the praise to the series is well deserved. This was incredible. I gave both of these books 5 stars. Maybe this one, The Poppy War, was more like 4.5 stars, but The Dragon Republic was definitely a 5-star read. And so in this trilogy we are following this girl Rin, who is a war orphan, and she gets taken in by a foster family, and when she is a teenager they decide to marry her off to this older man because it would profit them. However, to escape this fate, Rin studies very hard and she gets to this prestigious war academy. This is a very war-themed series, so I would definitely say that there are trigger warnings for pretty much anything that you can associate with war and war atrocities. So it was quite hard to read at times, but I think R.F. Kuang did such an amazing job with these characters, with the interactions, and also with examining their emotions and their fears and their actions when they are confronted with actual war. So the first part of this first book, The Poppy War, is actually the school setting. We are in a school, we are following Rin as she goes through her classes, we are getting to know some of her classmates, and it feels quite young adult. It's definitely not a young adult book, it's definitely adult, but this first part felt quite young adult to me, and then there is this instant shift of tone which was quite jarring where we get to the actual war. And I think this is why I gave this book 4.5 rather than 5 stars, because of the tone shift. I felt it was maybe too abrupt. I think I understand the idea behind it, but for me I think it might have been done a little bit more seamlessly, but still it was an incredible book, and so right when I finished it I needed to pick up the sequel. And I would say that The Dragon Republic is an amazing sequel that builds upon and improves upon everything that was already great in The Poppy War. We get a lot of character development here, especially with Rin, the main character. Rin is not an easy character to root for because she is definitely more like an anti-hero character whose decisions sometimes shock you, and with whose decisions I definitely did not always agree, but I loved her. I think she is a fascinating character to follow, and we also get to know more about some other characters that we briefly met in book 1, so this was really nice. I am forever a character-driven reader, so all of the interactions between them and friendships and animosities, it was all very interesting to follow. We also find out more about this shamanic magic. So in this world we have certain individuals who can contact gods and harness their powers to enhance their own strength. But it's a difficult magic to control, and it's also quite dangerous as the gods want to take over. They really want to use the humans for their own purposes, and also to commune with gods you have to take certain drugs, so there is also the danger of drug addiction. But these books were amazing, were heartbreaking, hard to read at times, but very, very much worth it. And I can't wait to read the third book in this trilogy, although I will say I am also quite scared to get to it. The next book that I finished in July was Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. This is book 2 in his First Law trilogy, the first one being The Blade itself. And I really enjoyed it. I have so much fun with Joe Abercrombie's writing, with his humor, with his characters. This book again improves upon everything that I already really enjoyed in book 1, but it also gives us more plot. It also gives us a lot of character development. So in First Law we are following a few characters, but I would say we mainly have 3 perspectives. One of them, my favorite, was Glokta, who used to be this dashing warrior, dashing soldier, but unfortunately during the last war he was kidnapped and tortured, and right now in the present time he is a torturer himself. He hates stairs, he loves chairs. He is such an interesting character to follow, and also his self-deprecating internal monologue is an absolute blast. I would say that every single word that comes out of Glokta's mouth is just perfection. We are also following Logan, who is this northern barbarian type of character. He used to be, I believe, a mercenary, and he has this bad fame around him. He's called the Bloody Nine, but when we meet him, he is quite a calm character. So he meets with this great magus of this world, and they go on a quest together. And I would say that while I was not sold on Logan in the first book, this one sold me on him. I really loved following him in this book. We are also following this young soldier Giselle, and Giselle and Logan in this book, they both go on this quest together, and there was so much character growth from Giselle. So Giselle in the first book is this handsome but very vain and not very smart character who is only interested in drinking and ladies and playing dice with his friends. But in this book he definitely goes through a lot, and there is a lot of character development for him. So I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. I would definitely recommend the audiobook narrated by Stephen Pacey. It was such an amazing experience. He has a different voice for every single character, but also he has like different voices for when a character is speaking versus when they are thinking, and so the audiobook definitely enhances the experience of the story. But yeah, it was a 5-star. And the next book that I finished, and it took me a while to read, it is quite a big and quite a dense book to get through, but it was an absolute favorite, and that is Howling Dog by Christopher Rocchio, book 2 in his Sun Eater series, which starts with Empire of Silence. I love this so much. I am loving this series so much. So in this series we are following Hadrian, who at the very beginning of the book tells us that he is now called the Sun Eater, that he destroyed planets and suns and murdered billions of people, and right now he just wants to tell his story so that maybe we can read it and judge him ourselves. And so we start when Hadrian is 19. In this world humans live really long lives due to enhanced genetic therapies. And so Hadrian right now is over 1,000 years old, but we get all the way back to when he was 19 and when he was groomed to be his father's heir. His father is a lord, a ruler of one of the planets that humans now inhabit. Earth is inhabitable anymore, and humans don't really even know where Earth is. And so we very early pick up on the fact that Hadrian's father may have some other plans for him, and Hadrian is not thrilled about his father's plan, so he tries to escape, and he finds himself on a completely different planet, not knowing where he is, not knowing when he is. He has to survive on the street, he has to survive in this Colosseum type of situation, and there is so much to love about this book. There is rich history and culture and language. There are amazing, interesting alien races. There is kind of class, caste politics. There are religious themes. So much to love. And also Christopher Rockyard's prose is really beautiful. So this one was an easy 5-star, and I am so excited to get to book 3 hopefully soon. And then because I was in the middle of all of those huge, dense fantasy and sci-fi stories, I was really craving something more whimsical, magical, and something quicker. So I picked up Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, and I fell in love. It was such a wonderful story. So this is a middle grade fantasy in which we are following Amari, who is, I believe, 12 years old, and her brother goes missing. And so because of who she and her family are and where they come from, the police immediately dismisses this case and believe that Amari's brother got himself into something illegal. However, Amari does not believe it. She is determined to find her brother. And so one day she finds this mysterious briefcase in his room, which is addressed to her, which he supposedly left for her before he went missing. And the contents of this briefcase show Amari that there is so much more to the world than she ever believed. There is magic, there is supernatural creatures, and in this briefcase she also finds a letter of recommendation to this Bureau of Supernatural Affairs where her brother was employed before he went missing. And so Amari goes to the bureau for like a summer internship, and she tries to discover what happened to her brother. She also makes friends, she finds out about her own powers, and so this was such a delightful read, and I would recommend this to everyone regardless of your age. Also, I would recommend it to everyone who has small children, who maybe you would like to get into reading, because this story is just so beautiful, and Amari is an incredible character to follow. She is so strong, so resilient, so brave. So this is a story about her discovering her inner strength, discovering her own power, but also about family and love and friendship. It was beautiful, it was whimsical, and I loved it so much. Easily 5 stars. This next book I kind of picked up on a whim. I wasn't planning to read it, but I was in a whimsical mood after reading Amari, and so I picked up Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and I really enjoyed it. This is a YA fantasy, a story about the books and about the main character's love for books and for libraries, so I think it sounds perfect for everyone who is a reader. And so in this we are following Elizabeth, who lost her parents when she was just a child, and she was raised in this great magical library, and she is now an apprentice training to be a warden of this library, which held magical books, magical grimoires, some books that are sentient, some books that are dangerous, and so basically the role of the warden is to protect the books from people, but also to protect people from these books. And one day she is wrongly accused of something she has not done, but she is taken by a sorcerer to the capital to be tried. And sorcerers in this world are not always regarded highly, because to be a sorcerer and to have magical powers, you have to bind yourself to a demon, you have to strike a deal with a demon to give them a portion of your life and then to receive the magical powers instead. And so Elizabeth is taken by a sorcerer, Nathaniel, and as she gets closer to him, she realizes maybe sorcery isn't that bad, maybe not all demons are that bad. And this was such a enjoyable, such a delightful read. I loved the characters. There is a demon boy who turns into a cat, there is books, there is libraries, there is interesting magic. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because I think what I was missing was maybe a little bit more of the character interactions. The plot was really nice to follow, but as I am more of a character rather than plot-driven reader, I really wanted a little bit more of a development of some of the relationships, friendships and love. However, I do think that the romantic relationship that is here was so cute and I just really wanted more, but I would definitely recommend it. It was such a sweet and quick read. And then the next book that I read in July was Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lin Tan. And this was a favorite. This is a new favorite and I am so happy I liked it because I've heard some mixed reviews. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I loved it. This was so beautiful. So this is a retelling of the Chinese legend of the Moon Goddess. However, in this story, she has a daughter, and so we are following both of them as they live on a moon, and this was such a beautiful setting. There was a lot of visual aspects to Sue Lin Tan's writing. So there is all the stardust and moonlight and silver and beautiful fabrics and clothes. Everything was just so beautiful, and I honestly can't wait to reread this book and to annotate it, to underline all of those beautiful words and phrases and sentences. We quickly find out that the Moon Goddess is actually a prisoner on the moon, imprisoned by the Celestial Emperor for supposedly stealing an elixir of immortality. Now, she and her daughter are both immortal, however, she is hiding her daughter from the Emperor, and one day Xingyan's magic flares up, and in a fear of being discovered, she has to flee, she has to leave her mother behind, and she goes to the Celestial Empire and studies magic alongside Prince Li Wei, all the while trying to find a way to free her mother. This story reads like the most wonderful fairy tale. I loved the main character. This is also a story about her discovering herself, because before she ran away, she led a very secluded life. It was just her and her mother. She didn't have any friends. She didn't have an opportunity to discover the person that she is. And so we are following her as she discovers who she is, as she discovers her own strengths, her own power. There is also a beautiful romantic relationship in this. There's actually like a love triangle, but it's not your typical young adult scenario where there is one girl and 2 guys who are in love with her and she doesn't know who to choose. The way this is set up here, it works so well. It's not really the question of who she loves more. It's done really well. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to say more, but it was so sweet and it was so beautiful, and I am looking forward to the sequel with its beautiful cover, and I'm sure it is going to be as well a beautiful story. I will just say that this reads quite okay as a standalone, so if you would just like to pick up this one book, the story wraps up really nicely, and yeah, definitely recommend. And the 2 books that I softly DNF'd were both books, well, they had a very similar setting, and I think that might have been the reason why I decided to put them down for some time, because I was just not in the mood for this setting and I was not enjoying them as much as I think I should, and as much as I think I would if I was in a mood for like a European medieval setting, but these books are Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie, book 3 in the First Law trilogy, and also Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. And so both of these books are set up in a world which is low on magic and very, very much medieval Europe inspired. And I don't know, as you guys could see, I was reading a lot of Asian-inspired fantasy, and I've been really in a mood for non-European settings. And while I am definitely planning to give those books a second chance, I just found that as I was reading them, my mind was wandering, I was not focused. And so this, I already talked about the trilogy, but the Justice of Kings is a story in which we are following Justice Sir Conrad von Volt, who is this lawkeeper and judge and executioner all in one. And there is also like a murder mystery aspect to it. And so there is a lot that I really liked about this book. I loved von Volt as the main character. He was such an interesting man, and he was so fair and just, and I know he is the justice, but I was honestly expecting someone who would maybe abuse his power a little bit, but no, he's just such a law-abiding but honest and kind man, and he has a lot of power. But very quickly we see that perhaps with the power dynamics and political situation shifting in this world, maybe he no longer has as much power as he thinks. And I think what threw me off the story, other than the setting, was that we are not following von Volt's perspective, which I think would be perfect. I would love to know his mind, but we are following his 19-year-old assistant clerk, Helena, who travels with him. And Helena is a little bit of a frustrating character to follow. She can be a brat, to be honest, and I was not that much interested in her perspective, and especially every time she was not with von Volt, I was like, I was just not interested in her internal monologue and in what she was going through. I think that everything that she is going through is valid because she is an orphan, and she was taken by von Volt under tutelage, and he's trying to teach her to become maybe the next justice, but she's not interested in it, and I think it's valid. She's just 19, she is just finding herself. It's just I was not interested in her inner struggles. I was interested in von Volt and in his actions and in what he was going to do with this murder mystery type of event. But yeah, I don't know, I definitely am going to give this book another try when I feel more like medieval European setting. And that was all the books that I had to talk to you about today. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what was your favorite book that you read in the month of July, and if you've read any of the books that I talked about and what did you think about it. Please also subscribe to my channel and like this video if you enjoyed it and if you would like to see more, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye!